Philadelphia Eagles and their quarterback Jalen Hurts remains in concussion protocol, but he was on the practice field yesterday. He was throwing the football. And right now, it would be a major upset if he were not out there on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. He still needs to clear protocol, but the expectation is he will. And barring some sort of setback, Hurts will be back behind center against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers on Sunday, with both quarterbacks having some questions, but both quarterbacks expected to play.
I just was looking at the weather in Philadelphia, which I hadn't done all week, just to see. I would assume like really bad cold might be worse for Jordan Love. It does not look like it's going to be really cold. 40 degrees, mostly sunny, not a lot of wind. Let's talk about Hurts. Okay, because to me, this is what I meant when I said one of the hugest developments that could happen. He's been in the concussion protocol, but I don't know that even the most astute football fans really fully understand the way the concussion protocol works. But you have to go through 5 steps, and if at any point you fail one of them, you go all the way back to the beginning. Yep. His being on the practice field yesterday is critically important. It means he is minimum step 3 and maybe step 4. If he wakes up this morning without a recurrence of symptoms, then he is a go. Then he's going to be able to play. The question is, does it impact how they call the game? If you've got a quarterback coming off a concussion and you need to win 4 games to win a Super Bowl, and maybe the thing he does best is run with the ball, especially when you need it on 4th and 1, are you running all that stuff with him coming off a concussion?
Not unless I have to win the game this coming weekend. I want to do everything I can if I'm Philadelphia to win this football game with players like Saquon Barkley carrying it and A.J. Brown having it in his hands and Devontae Smith. I'm not going to run Jalen Hurts intentionally until I have to. If it gets into that fourth quarter situation and we need a first down to go salt the game away, or we need to get a first down to get in field goal range to win the game, then I can do it. But I'm not starting the football game that way. I want to make sure that I keep him as clean and as safe as possible.
So if you're a defender and your suspicion is that's the way they're going to be looking at this game, what does it mean? How does that change the way you can go about defending Saquon Barkley in particular?
Well, you commit more to Saquon. And when I say that, when they're in the gun and Saquon is standing next to Jalen Hurts and he gets the ball and he puts it out there, for a defense, that option is tough because you may have 2 guys coming off that side and somebody has to commit to try to stopping Jalen Hurts just in the event that he holds on to the ball. If you know he's not going to become a threat or a ball carrier, you're now diving down and committing to getting Saquon Barkley on the ground.
It's almost what Pittsburgh does versus Lamar Jackson.
Exactly. When we saw that last game where Derrick Henry's going off, but every time Lamar hands it off to him, there's T.J. Watt is standing in his face because they're making sure Lamar has to give the ball and not hold on to it. For the Packers defense, if he's not going to take it, we can all just crash down and commit to Saquon.
So if I'm Jalen in that situation, and even for Kellen Moore, have that discussion and say, look, if you do pull it on a zone read, slide. Like, we only need 3 or 4 yards. That's still going to cause the defense to respect me as a rusher. Because like you said, if you know he's not going to run the football, of course, Saquon Barkley's a 2,000-yard back. You know this guy's going to get the rock. So Jalen Hurts, that actually might work in their benefit.
How about the tush push? Because that is such an enormous part of what they do. It's one of the most unstoppable things we've ever seen in the league, called 1st and 9. Are we running that?
Yeah, I am. I don't think the tush push is that big a deal because it's such a condensed space. I mean, a lot of times
he gets so low.
And you're not taking big hits because most of those guys have within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. So it, for me, would be more the hit that he actually got injured on is when there's that space and you're covering ground from there. The tush push doesn't concern me as much as it is.
Really?
Yeah.
That looks like a force field. It looks like just his body is being thrown everywhere. Like,
but there's not this.
There's not that running bang on your head either. I agree. Okay. But let me add this. So Himbo gave me this stat. So the Packers rush defense, outside the tackles, when you have outside the tackle runs, they're 3rd in the league, which is amazing. Inside the tackles, between the tackles, 24th in the league. Yeah. So that just means run the football up the gut with Saquon Barkley. You take the equation now away from Jalen Hurts having to be that guy to run up the middle.
Cindy, you can put the pics up on the screen. This is the absolute kiss of death for the Eagles because everyone here likes Philly to win the game, which means, as I've said a million times, whenever everyone thinks something is going to happen, it never goes that way.
Yeah, listen, if Philadelphia can't beat Green Bay without their #1 vertical threat and a quarterback who's got a little bit of a banged up elbow, you're not nearly as good as we thought you were.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you two guys. I've got 2 quarterbacks sitting here. So he's got an elbow. We saw, all of us can see him doing that. I think everyone in the world, you don't have to have been a football player to know what that feels like, right? You got the little tingling in the finger. Yeah. How much of a factor? He's going to play. Schefter said he's going to. We expect him to play.
I'm just thinking, as I see all those picks, and I see everybody on the Eagles, and look, the Eagles should win. They're at home.
They're a 4.5-point favorite.
they're a 4.5-point favorite. They've been a really good football team. I'm curious. Last year, the Green Bay Packers, in a similar spot, played another NFC East team on the road and crushed them.
They beat him.
Yeah, we saw that coming, though.
That was like 100-8.
You saw that coming?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was Hembo over there? What was the line on that game? Did someone find out? What were the Cowboys favored in that game against the Packers?
That's the betting line.
Oh, I would bet more. I would bet more. Go ahead.
I get the point. I don't think it affects him that much. I do expect him to have a glove on if it does impact him. I've watched Matthew Stafford go through that. If I was Green Bay offensively, I would come out ultra aggressive. I would challenge Philadelphia's secondary. I would try to take a lead and jump on that football team that has had some slow starts this year. They're minus 35 in the first quarter, and I would force Saquon Barkley out of that football game if I was Green Bay. I think Jordan Love will be okay.
I think it'll be okay to start the game, but you can imagine you're bracing yourself. You get sacked a couple of times. A couple of these defensive linemen start banging you a little bit. That's when that elbow can start barking, and then maybe have some issues later in the game with the hand.
There you see it. Green Bay was a 7.5-point dog in that game against Dallas. So, I mean, that was...
Hold on, but Dan said everybody saw it coming.
Well,
I mean, if you paid attention to it, you did.
So this is a different game. We like this Eagle team much more than we liked that Cowboys.
Significantly better on defense. They have. I think Jalen Carter has the chance to have a massive impact on this football game. Green Bay's really good. Their run game is sensational, and they're a very good offense. The Watson stuff's a big deal for me.
All right, we're just getting rolling here. We got much more playoff football.
Jordan Love has been dealing with an elbow injury that has affected his hand and his throwing motion. He obviously was taken out of the regular season finale against the Chicago Bears, was limited in practice yesterday. He is expected to be out there on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles in a huge wild card matchup. The question is, will that be of any issue to him with his hand and his elbow, and will it impact the throws that he makes? But Jordan Love is expected to start despite those issues in his elbow and his hand. And as